Rate 4, the number 4, undefeated, you will get 25% off, and also sponsored by Law Terrain Watches. Use the code Air Raid, save 10% on your orders. First things first, going to introduce to you a great dude. Got to know over the last, probably month and a half or so, maybe longer, the way time flies. Joining with me, of course, is my co host, Miss Jamie, all the way from the great state of Nebraska. Miss Jamie, how are you this evening?
I'm doing okay. Little under the weather, so I
Yep.
might sound a little nasally, but I'm hanging in there.
Completely understand. And of course, our wonderful guest joining with us tonight is the quarterback development for QB Impact. Of course, a good friend of mine, the CEO and founder, Coach Tom George, over that. And more importantly, a veteran of the United States Army, and Mr. Coach Steve Manella. First things first, Coach. Uh, coming from a military family from many generations, literally my dad's dad, my grandfather served 22 years in the United States Air Force. My cousins are currently serving overseas in the United States Army, of course, and within our own country in the United States Army. And the list goes way past beyond that. But more importantly, Coach, I appreciate your service to this country. I know, it means a lot. I know, of course, with the days we live in, everybody has their opinions, but I appreciate your service, and it goes unnoticed. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you guys for having me on, and thanks for the acknowledgement as well. I definitely took a lot of pride in serving, and I do miss it at times. But we all move on to different things, different parts and chapters in our lives. So, but I definitely had a great time when I was in the Army. So, but I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. And first things first, tell the listeners a little about Coach Manella and what he's about, and what do you like to do. Obviously, you're a part of the QB Impact, of course, Coach George. And I got a few questions for you. I want to, don't tell Coach. I'm gonna ask. I'm sure he'll listen, but I want to hear the behind the scenes with Coach George. But uh, tell us a little about yourself, and what do you like to do when you're not coaching or any of that good stuff.
Yeah, so great question. So I have two amazing sons. My oldest Roman, he's 13, and my youngest Hudson, who's 10. And so, man, I just spent a lot of time with them. My wife Heather, of course. Just we have a pretty tight knit little group family here. Especially since we moved back to Oklahoma. We were in New York for almost 5 years, actually, up in Buffalo area. So we moved back down to Oklahoma last summer, and that's how I actually connected with Coach George and the whole QB Impact family at Camp Impact down in Dallas at AT&T Stadium. And so I started doing some training sessions with Coach George. He saw that I was definitely interested in helping out or whatnot. And it's been going great ever since, man. I'm blessed to be a part of the QBI family. Tom knows that he's like a mentor. He obviously but he is a mentor to me. But more importantly, he's really like a brother to me. I consider him like a big brother. So that's my guy. So I know you know him
Yep.
as well, and he'll give it to you straight up. And I need to
Hmm.
hear that sometimes. So that's just how he is, and it's good though. It's good to have him. And he's a great dude, man. So he's a humble guy, but also he's so giving. And a lot of people don't know that, don't notice that, but he does a lot behind the scenes for a lot of athletes in Oklahoma, not just Oklahoma, but
Hmm.
but especially for the QB Impact family. So, but yeah, so that's how that started, and so we've been rocking it ever since. It's been over a little bit over a year now, and then I was able to be brought on to the QB Impact staff officially at the beginning of this year in January. So, man, I love it. I love coaching. I love training. You impact a lot of lives, a lot of young. I train a lot of young guys, and it's fun, man. Just getting these young bucks. We call them our young guns, but getting them in there and teaching them the basic fundamentals. But seeing them grow too is rewarding. I've done it with my oldest son Roman, who's a quarterback, but and it takes a lot of time, a lot of hours are focused into this. It doesn't happen overnight, but I've got a really good group, and we all have our own as have a great group of athletes. So it's fun.
I know Coach George. I met him in person, or finally in person. What's funny is, we were going to meet in person a few months ago for a podcast, and it, of course, snowed, and I think it was back in February, something like that. But anyway, might have been January. But anyway, so finally got to, we still text and call and chat and this, that, and something else, and finally met up. Probably, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, roughly,
Hmm.
and humble dude, and like you said, he lays it straight, and I think especially in society that we are in, that we live in nowadays, not to bring up politics, stuff like that, but I think we and it has nothing to do with politics, really. I think we need a person in our life that says, hey, I love you, bro, but here's what you got to work on, and just flat out let us have it, because I think that's the only way we can grow.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. For instance, he came to my son's game, Roman, last night, but I'm one of the coaches on the staff, and I pretty much called the offense. And a couple weeks ago in Mustang, and it was just lights out. We scored so much, and it was fun, man. Air raiding it out there,
Hmm.
and it was awesome, right? So yesterday we had it was a little different. It was a good game. But we had some opportunities that we did not execute, and a lot of that's on us coaches and myself too for the offense. And so I asked Coach George this morning about I need some feedback, and he gave it to me straight, man, and that's what I need to hear. So like I said, he's a mentor to me, and I'm honestly lucky to have him for sure around. So, but no, you're right. It's one of those things to where we do need that in our lives. We need someone, not just someone, but people. So we got to be surrounded by good people that look out for you and tell you, hey, if you're messing up, you gotta correct it.
Hmm. I want to ask this because see what you say. Behind behind, of course, I see Coach George. Coach George is he's willing to take me on the wing, get shed some weight off and stuff like that, which
That's all.
I humbly accept, and and no pun intended. So all you listeners out there, I try not to cuss as much, but he's probably well, I guess in the way I'll put in different wording is, hey, I'm gonna beat you, dude. I'm gonna beat you. You better get ready. I'm gonna beat you, and no, he's not literally gonna beat me or stuff like that. So anybody out there like, oh, that's not cool. Okay, no, that's
I
not
mean,
what.
sometimes we all need to be.
No,
Yeah,
some people absolutely just come over here. I'm gonna slap you in the face.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but let me. I played football. Let's go run some gassers, because you ain't listening. But which, trust me, gassers is not fun. But no, nonetheless, somebody like, hey, my dad, of course, lost my grandmother a few months ago, and his health has absolutely declined. He's got muscular dystrophy real bad, and had a major stroke in 20. And so, a while back, coach is like, hey, 'cause I told coach, like, hey, I made a promise to my dad, but X, Y, and Z, and
Hmm.
he's like, if you, and this is when I was in Denver visiting Denver. He said, I know you're in Denver. Enjoy your time up there. He said, when you get back, he says, if you commit, I'm absolutely going to change your life. Not for, not to give him any praise or this, that, and something else, but like he said, I want to make you better. But even for that, even more healthier, because you made a promise to
Right.
your dad, X, Y, and Z. Anyway, long story short. So behind what we don't see on the videos on QB Impact, and behind what we see on the social medias, how is Coach? When you're working with Coach, kind of describe Coach George behind on the field and during camps and during training sessions and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, what you see really with Coach George is it can be what you get. He's very passionate about coaching and QB impact, obviously, and he's very passionate about his coaches us executing what we have to do. So a camp impact I call it like a controlled chaos, because that's a military term, but it really is. It's 3 days of just balls to the wall. It's fun, it's rewarding, but it's a grind as well, and we all know that as us QB impact coaches. But coach will definitely get on to you if some things are slipping, which I found out this past year at AT&T, and then a couple other guys found out. as well. So, but behind the scenes, I mean, he's a great dude, man. Like I said, I will never. I'm not just saying that, but he's just. I mean, he can't. There's times where you just catch him where he's laid back, just chill, and it's great to be around him. Him and his family, Shelly, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you've had Shelly on the podcast or not before, but she's a huge Nebraska fan. I don't want to speak for Shelly, but she's a huge Nebraska
Yep.
fan as well because she's from there, and she's great. My wife Heather, is friends with her, and she loves being around her as well. So, like I said, man, they're just great people, dude, and we're blessed to have them in our life and our families life too, because we can, like I said, we came back to Oklahoma last summer, and it was a crazy summer. We were actually set to move to Texas, but it fell through the week before, so we had a really rough stretch there, but it worked out in the end, and it's going well. So.
I mean, if she's a Nebraska fan, we need her on here.
Hey, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
I figured she'd already been on with the Nebraska connection, but hey, that's maybe you could reach out.
Well, Coach, while back, I think it's when I first was introduced to Coach from Wong, and Jamie, I'll have to get Wong on, and you'll love that dude. That dude is humble as humble can be.
It's great
But
dude.
oh, absolutely phenomenal dude. And Coach texted me. He said, "Hey, I got a random question for you." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I mean, usually, for the most part, I'll answer almost anything. I said, "Yeah, what's up? Are you and
Mhm.
Shelly related?" I said, "Who the crap is Shelly?" Like literally, who is Shelly? I said, I don't know. Where are we going with this? Anyway, he says, "Well, the reason why I ask is because you guys have the same last name." I'm like, "No, trust me, I know my family tree." Now, unfortunately, not no disrespect, Coach, but I said no, she's definitely not on there. But I thought
That's fine.
that was kind of odd. But no, going, Coach George, Shelly, I did listen to Shelly on Wong's podcast, and I'll get with Coach, and I know, you know, Coach, I'm sure you probably know. I'm sure that she's the GM when she's right next to his side, and vice versa. You never know.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
but no, from what I see from her page, to my opinion, I mean, I can't speak, obviously too much, but she seems like she's right on board with what Coach brings, and I think that's why they're so great together.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, brother.
So when it comes to Coach Manila, and walk us, your, let's say, a day in the day in the life, you guys are headed to AT&T. For listeners out there, QB Impact does a huge camp at AT&T Stadium, usually, what would you say, Coach? May, June-ish, roughly?
Yeah, it's at the end of June, so it's right in the summer, and we have usually 200 plus athletes that are there, and like I said, man, it's reps, reps, reps. It's not a hype camp. So I've coached for a while, and I've been around different camps and different platforms, obviously, and different organizations with camps, a few others, and I won't put them on blast because that's not how I am, but. There's a lot of camps out there that'll be misleading to parents, and they're really made just for money grabs. They'll hype your kid up, they'll put them on a flyer and say your kid is the best 13-year-old in the nation, and it's just all for show, right? Well, QB Impact, Camp Impact is not like that. It's reps, reps, reps. We're there to work our butts off. If you want to get better, then you come to Camp Impact. But if you want the hype and the flyers and all this stuff, it's something that you probably won't enjoy, because Coach George doesn't do all that.
Mhm. I will say this, and kind of, I want to get your brain. I don't know how much you follow college football. Not to switch real quick, just kind of curiosity, because we're talking. Of course, you brought up Shelly in Nebraska. Well, no personal bandana towards Jamie in Nebraska. My dad's a Nebraska fan, even though he graduated from OU.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what's your thoughts on it? Currently, obviously, they lose in the Northwest. We get the first week. You never know what's going to happen. But for the exception of that, or you can throw that in there, what's your take on the Nebraska's football program and currently where they're at? Is Scott Frost the true guy, or is Nebraska's program just been so far set back that it's literally taken years to try to get something going on their favor in Lincoln?
Yeah, that's a great question, honestly. So I do another part that I do is work with Pro Football Focus. So what I do
Nice.
with them, I've been with them for about 5 years. So I am a huge college football fan and of course NFL fan. Like I told you earlier, I'm a Commander fan, unfortunately. But but
That's great.
You're all
yeah,
good.
I got to keep it real. But anyways, going to Nebraska and Scott Frost, it's tough when like Nebraska obviously transitioned from the Big 12 where they were a
Mhm.
power, obviously back in the day. Again, it was always OU versus Nebraska, which were great games.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and Nebraska had, I just it just doesn't seem they've transitioned well from the triple option era, the power, the heavy run era to a pass heavy offense, and it does take some time. I will say I do think Thompson's a legit passer and a good quarterback, and they really could have won that game the other day. So I wouldn't necessarily throw in the towel on them after one game and Scott Frost after one game, but it was a tough loss because, like I said, they really could have had that game. But yeah, it's been a challenge for them in the Big Ten, and I think they're kind of surprised that it has been, honestly.
Yeah, I would say being a fan, for my life, it's definitely been a tough adjustment going into the Big Ten, and I don't think that any of us really thought it would be. Um, I just have to go back to our administration and our head coaches that we had prior to Frost. They really didn't do a lot of good within the football program. Unfortunately, there were a lot of things that changed that probably shouldn't have changed, and that didn't help us either. I'm not ready to throw in the towel either at this point. It was the first game. It's a week 0 game. You're over in a different country. I think you can prep all you want for those kind of games, but there are always things that are going to happen, unknowns when you get there. And we should have really won that football game, minus a few just bonehead decisions.
Yep.
I liked what I saw. I really do like Casey. I think he's going to be great for us. I think defensively, I was a little shocked, and I'm a little bit more concerned than I had thought I was going to be going into this season. Um, Again, week 0 overseas, you never know, but let's just say I'm happy to have, a couple of easier teams before we go into OU.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, overseas also has a factor into it. Again, these are college athletes. That's a big transition to play overseas like that. And it was in a different, obviously, atmosphere. So I thought it was a good game, and it was close, and I lost by 3. So like you said, we'll see how it goes.
It's gonna be interesting. Of course, I think they have North Dakota and Georgia Southern before Oklahoma. And of course, we don't know what kind of OU team is going to be out there. It could be a good. Obviously, they don't really play nobody up until Nebraska, so it's hard to tell how good or bad they are either. Um, but no, I think that game in Lincoln's really going to not so much for Oklahoma. I think so much more pressure for Nebraska. I would say probably than Oklahoma, um, but no, it's going to be interesting what happens in Lincoln and maybe Scott Frost can turn that around. But that's kind of what wanting to pick your head, kind of what you thought from that Nebraska. How how much harder is that seat going to be for Scott Frost?
Yeah, I mean it is true. Obviously, if they drop to a 7-4, 8-4 type season, then at the end of the season, I'm sure they'll have discussions on it. And but I always say it's hard to it is hard to rebuild too, and it's hard to replace coaches.
Hmm.
It seems we always get on that. Well, they need to just let them go. Let's fire them. Let's after 1 or 2 years. And I know this isn't the case in Nebraska, but just saying in general, you see it a lot in the NFL too. And it's like, yeah, it's okay. Let's fire them. But then who are we going to bring in? What staff
Yep.
are we going to bring in?
Exactly.
How's that going to work? You know what I mean?
And that's where I'm at, Steve. I think part of Nebraska's issue is that we kept doing that for so many years, and that's why we are where we are. And maybe it's because it's Scott Frost, and he was a national championship quarterback here at Lincoln. I feel like if you give anybody a little leeway, it's that
Yep.
guy. And that's just where I'm at with it. I do think that the seat is getting hotter, but I don't think that Husker fans should be quite as willing to want to turn over a coach again.
Well, I think Coach Steve said that, and I think I'm right on page with him. As the question is, and you're right, is let's just say for the sake of argument, Nebraska says, Scott, we got to take another rope. I mean, at this point, I don't know who would be the top, who would be that top choice, and to try to yet again rebuild the program yet again and start right back over. I just don't know if they really want to spend that time and energy try to do that. See, I'm not very close to obviously to the program, nor I really follow it that closely, but it's an interesting thing in Lincoln.
Yeah, no, you're right. And college football really needs Nebraska to be good again. I've always
Yep.
I like those traditional rivalries, and Nebraska being a power, it was awesome growing up. So I don't know when it's going to happen again or how, but it would be nice to see them crack like the top 10 again and be a contender. It'd be awesome.
I couldn't agree more. 100%.
Right.
It is. It's better for college football when those traditional powers are good.
Yes.
And it is what it is, and there needs to be a little bit more disparity in college football than just the big SEC powerhouses and then one other team from wherever it comes from.
Yeah, it's definitely been a trend lately for a while now. The SEC is obviously the top dog, and they have usually 2 or 3 really, really good teams every year, and it kind of just overshadows all the other conferences. So, but we'll see now that all these other conferences are shifting and shaping out, and OU's going to the SEC, obviously Texas too. That's going to be a huge adjustment. I think Brent Venables is the guy to be able to lead that charge for OU because he's a no-nonsense and he's a defensive guy. So, I'm excited for OU football. I think that they'll be obviously competitive like they are every year. Not saying they're going to be a national title contender.
Right, exactly.
But I think they'll be pretty dang good.
You brought that up, and of course, earlier today, Jamie, I don't know if you saw that or not, or if anybody really did, because I know Twitter hasn't really been blowing it up. But Bleacher reported early out today, long story short, that Texas and Oklahoma, of course, is trying to do anything and everything out of their power to get out of the Big 12 a whole lot sooner, which I kind of thought that was going to happen. Of course, with the arrival of Cincinnati and UCF and BYU and Houston next year to the Big 12. What's your thoughts, obviously, from a college football fan standpoint? What's your thoughts on all of this conference realignment? Obviously, needless to say, we're not done by any means. Of course, we got more rumors, Washington, Notre Dame being pursued, Oregon being pursued by the Big Ten. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen at this point. It's our hearsay. But, obviously we do know Oklahoma, Texas going to the SEC. What's your thoughts? Well, first of all, from OU and Texas going to the SEC. And then, of course, your thoughts, on this whole conference realignment for college football.
Yeah, it's great questions. Texas, for instance, they've been down for a little bit, right? So it's been a few years. Honestly, they really haven't been a legit power since Vince Young. So it's been a while now. They've had good teams, good players, but they haven't been consistent winning. So that's going to be interesting to see them. Now, Texas A&M, who went to the SEC, has had some success. And they do have a really good program. So it's definitely not impossible. For OU as well, same thing, right? I mean, lately we've been labeled as the offense, right? The Big 12, all offense, but you can't stop anybody. And we've had horrible games like LSU, Joe Burrow, they put up 63 points on us or whatever, Alabama the year before. So it goes down and down the line when we play these SEC teams, we get smoked, really, just to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. So I think it's going to be a huge challenge for both of those programs. Now, they obviously are powerhouses, national powers, so they can recruit, and obviously with the NIL nowadays, heck, you see Arch Manning, how he's going out of Texas. So, though I think they'll be able to recruit, but it's going to be tough. And then the overall scheme of it. I think it's a great question. I mean, the Big 12. So who's really going to be that go-to team for the Big 12 now after OU and Texas leave? That's going to be the question. Is it going to be OSU? Is it going to be one of those other teams that surprises Houston, Cincinnati? You know what I mean? So who's going to be their go-to as far as we know they're going to be pretty dang good. And then of course with the Pac-12, there's teams out there that honestly do get overlooked because it's out on the West Coast. But we'll see how USC can compete with Lincoln Riley now. I know that's still a sore subject for Sooner Nation for some, but we'll see. They do have obviously Caleb Williams, and they've got a talented roster. I'm not saying they're going to be a legit great contender either, but I'd imagine they're going to win some games and put up some points. We know Caleb can play, and we know Lincoln can call offense, right? So they're going to put up some points. We'll see what the defense can do out there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. This whole alignment is going to be crazy.
Yeah, I just think you're looking at going into two super conferences at this point. And I don't really like that because I don't think it's very traditional as college football, but I feel like that's where we're going.
Yeah, I agree. I did see that. I saw it on Twitter a couple months ago, but they were talking about college just do like the pros do and have, like you just said, two major conferences, and go with that. But I don't know. I'm with you. I like the traditional Big 12, Pac-10, SEC, Big 10, ACC, all those. Notre Dame being independent. I think I like Notre Dame doing that. So if they go to a conference, which one are they going to go? I know that I've heard Big 10, but how's that going to shape out? So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. College football landscape itself is changing a lot, especially now with, like we just talked about, with the NIL money that's going to be flying around. So you'll see some crazy things, I'm sure, and some teams may come up and surprise us, and some may disappoint. So it'll be fun for sure.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. We'll see, regardless if it's a 23, 24, or maybe they still keep it in 25. I don't know exactly what all that's going to transpire for OU in Texas, but when it comes to the Washington Commanders, of course, from a fan standpoint, where do you go from here?
Why are you laughing?
I'm trying to figure out like what the question is. You got Carson Wentz. I'm like, well, okay.
Steve, why don't you give us your prognosis?
Yeah, what's your perspective on the Commanders? Because obviously, I don't know really where to go from here.
Yeah, so it's funny. I know it's because I can laugh too, right? Because I'm a fan. They've really been. I've been a fan since I was a kid. So I grew up in South Mississippi, and in Southern Mississippi, it was either the Saints or the Cowboys, and I never could root for Dallas.
No.
So it was the Saints, and I was like, man, I just, as a kid, even I'm like, I love football, I've watched it all the time. So, and the Saints sucked, just being real. So when I was a kid, the Skins were pretty good, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
They were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 35, so I'm dating myself, but
Same
here.
They
were
good.
All
about the same age, so
right. Washington was good in the early 90s, right? So I'm like, okay,
yes.
I'll just ride with them. So I've been a fan my whole life. And honestly, it seems like ever since Dan Snyder bought the team in 99, it's been just just going downhill. And I can't, most Washington fans will tell you they can't stand Dan Snyder because he's just a clown. But on the field anyway, and coaching, I do like Ron Rivera. I think he's a really good coach. I'm honestly a Wentz fan. I know he's caught a lot of flack. But when he's on, he's a really good quarterback. Yes, he's inconsistent. Is he elite? No. But this is a guy that's won a lot of games. He's put up a lot of good numbers. And and we've talked about Coach George, right? So he's a Cowboy fan. So we have
Yes, he is.
some
Yo.
right. So we have some pretty good jabs at each other, and but Wentz is one of those guys that if things are going well for him, like I said, he really can play at a high level. But there are some what the heck are you doing plays that he can do throughout the season. Overall, though, I mean, I think he's much better than Taylor Heineke, right? So he's going
Oh,
to be a
by
better
far.
quarterback for us than we've had in the last couple of years. Yeah, exactly. And they've got weapons on offense. I mean, Terry McLaurin's one of the best receivers in the league. They have a good line. So Antonio Gibson's a really good back. They've got weapons. Logan Thomas, a good tight end,
Mm-hmm.
and they drafted Dotson from Penn State, John Dotson, who's really blowing up. They what it's look like. So they've got potential.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, can they put it together? That's the question. And it's a tough division. It's always tough. It's been down a couple of years, but it's usually always tough. Philly, Giants, Cowboys, and Washington. It's always NFC East is always a grind. So I'm not expecting a great season from them. I mean, I'm a realistic fan. I think if they can win 8, 9, 10 games in that range, then it's a successful season. If they can sneak into the playoffs, it'll be successful. But the Eagles. A lot of people are hyping the Eagles up as well, and they're kind of like the media darling for this year. The Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. So we'll see if that hype is for real too. So I still think Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the division. And typically with me, if you have the best quarterback in the division, that's who I'm going to roll with. So even though I can't stand Dallas, I admit that I'd probably bet on them to win the division. Although they've lost some guys and the line is shaky.
Yeah.
But I will say Dak's the best quarterback in the division. So if I had to bet money on the East, I would probably pick them.
Well, you would be happy with me because I snuck Washington into the playoffs.
Mhm.
See
So
that there you go. Because
I just have a feeling. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
I really don't have any like wow, insight. I just really think that they could get it done this year. And I've always liked your defense. And
Yes.
to me, like defense is a really big thing, especially going into the playoffs. And when you don't have that team in your division, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's kind of where I'm at with it.
No, that's a great point. They're the Commanders' defense is good. It should be pretty dang good. They have one of the best and talented defensive lines in the league. I mean,
100%.
when you have Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Chase Young when he comes back, Montez Sweat. I mean, you're talking about four monsters on the D-line.
Absolutely.
So I do agree. The secondary is a little shaky, and the linebackers are okay. But, I think they should have a solid defense if they can stay healthy. That's going to be the big key for every team, of course. Now, Jamie, who's your favorite NFL team? I didn't catch that.
So I am a Packers and a Chiefs fan, and I know you're going to laugh at me because everybody does, but
yeah,
my favorite part of my family lives in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And they've lived there since I go up there every summer still.
Okay.
And then the Chiefs, obviously being in Nebraska, they are the closest, professional team to Nebraska. So, I mean, I grew up loving both of them, honestly, and I support both of them equally.
That's cool. No, there's nothing wrong with it. My oldest is a diehard Packer fan. So we actually got to go up to a game in Lambeau last year against Washington, of course.
Of course.
Here I am, I'm the only idiot in Lambeau Field, pretty much with burgundy and gold on. So, but it was fun. Honestly, it's a great atmosphere, great place to watch a game, and the fans there are awesome. They're like first class.
They are
first class. So. Denver though is on my list, Mike. To go to Denver to watch a game is on my list. I definitely want to go check out the Commanders in Denver one year.
Well, hopefully this year. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm still going to shoot for it, but to be in Denver, for what game I don't know. I mean, Kansas City, but that I think it's January 1st. I think is when we play them. That New Year's Day, I don't know if I want to do that, but nonetheless, it's got to be this year, if not next. But no, I was up there I think it was the end of May, it's right before my grandma passed, and kind of hung around and got the chance to tour the stadium. It was pretty neat, and I will say this: the history behind it, of course, still seeing the outline of Mile High Stadium, the original way back in the day. It was pretty neat, but hey, I'm definitely I want to go. I want to go to a game as well. So maybe we can hopefully next year get the Commanders in Denver. You never know.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. Hey, Denver should be pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Russell Wilson now, I mean, they I really think that they hit the lotto with getting Russell Wilson. He's a great player, always has been, great quarterback. The only thing is they play in such a tough division, and
Hmm.
that's gonna be it's gonna be a fun division because you got four gunslingers, man, in that division. And Derek Carr can play, and
Yeah.
He
a lot of
can.
people
Yep.
underrate Derek Carr, man. He can play, so. Is he on the level of the other three? Yeah, probably not. But I mean, he's top 15 quarterback in the league, in my opinion. So if not, he is at 15. So he's a stud. But yeah, that's gonna be tough division. Anytime you got 15 for Kansas City, though, it's hard for me to bet against them, man. He's that special. He really is. So, and Andy Reid's offense. The dude's a genius. So
Hmm.
it's going to be fun to watch those teams play.
I know we talked about it in the last show. I kind of want to get your opinion before we go back to to QB Impact and kind of what it's all about. Is who's your dark horse this year? We keep hearing Baltimore. We hear the Chargers, Raiders. Some
Hmm.
depends on who you are. Pittsburgh, which I don't see that, but whatever. Who would be your considered dark horse for this year?
That's a great question. I think honestly, talent wise and roster wise, I really like the Saints, but I
Ooh.
don't know if Winston can stay consistent enough. That he's the big key there. They have the talent. They have a very good line. They have good, of course, Kamara. They've got good receivers, a really really good defense. So they've got the talent. It's just going to be on Jameis Winston. So that's one. And then they're not really a dark horse because a lot of people are talking about them, but Miami's got a lot of talent too.
Hmm.
It's going to be on Tua, of course, and his progression. But those two teams definitely are up there.
Miami was mine, so great minds there too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Of course, all the listeners out there, feel free to go back to I want to say it's February, end of January, one of those two, with Coach George, and great insight from a great man. That dude's on point with almost everything. And going back, tell the listeners exactly what is QB Impact all about, and let's say for example, got a listener out here on here in the metro area, so on and so forth. Hey, my kid wants to play. Maybe he wants to play next year. Obviously, a little baby might be a little too late this year, even though the season's barely even got started. Um, you know, what's QB impact all for all the listeners out there, and what do they expect for their kids or even their high schoolers to get out of it?
Right. Great questions on that, Mike. Like I said earlier in the show, I'm humbled to be a part of QB Impact. So it's a great academy. And I know you hear QB in the name QB Impact, but
Mhm.
we also provide offensive line training, defensive line. So we have Coach Jimmy Wilkerson, a OU great, Kansas City Chief as well. He works with our D line. Coach KJ Breckenridge, who's here in Oklahoma City with us, works with our O
Mhm.
line. Just a great coach, great guy. We have
I believe
skills
he's a
development. Go ahead.
isn't he a Midwest C high school coach?
Yes, he is. He
Yeah.
is. He is.
Shout out to
I
the
mean,
Bombers.
solid as they come, man. Definitely one of my guys. And then of course we have skills training as well. So receivers, tailbacks, linebackers, and stuff. So we have Coach Mahala Wiggins who does strength training, speed training. Obviously another football just genius.
Mhm.
Coached at OU, coached with the Jets. And then not even just coaching wise, but people wise, he's just a great dude. So if you get like the theme here of QB Impact, it's
Yep.
great coaches, but even better human beings. We try and surround ourselves with. Coach George has done a hell of a job building this from the ground up. And then I forgot we also have Coach Sean Love as well, that does wide receiver training for us. He played at OSU. And he is coaching at John Marshall in Oklahoma City, so he knows his stuff. And then we have, like you said earlier in the show, we have other obviously we have QB Impact Arkansas. QB Impact Texas, QB Impact Hawaii. We have skills evolution, sorry, in Louisiana. So and we're building and building and building. Coach George is doing a great job, like I said, building and building, right? So for the listeners, if I'm not a salesman, so I can't. It just bear with me, but realistically, I'm just gonna be real. My son plays football, right? He's 13, and like even if I wasn't a part of coaching with QB Impact, he would still be training with Coach George and QB Impact. It's just from top to bottom. If you want to get better, this is the way to do it, right? You have to get better training reps, and we offer it all year long. It's not just during football season or say in the summer. It's an academy that's not just like a camp or here and there. We train every week, multiple times a week, especially in the off season. So and like for instance, I told you earlier, I train a lot of the young guys. Well, Coach George trains all the high school and college guys, right? So we stay very busy and active, and so do all the other coaches for QB Impact around the country. So yeah, I mean, that's it really in a nutshell. If you want to get better, get the reps in, improve your game, be a better human being as well. It's not just about sports, right? Grades, treating people right, treating your parents right. That's really what we're about. So and again, like I said, man, I'm really blessed to be a part of it.
I'm kind of curious. Was there a moment that Coach George pulled you to the side, or I hate to use the word "made of an example" because it really sounds bad, but was there a moment to where you really saw the Coach George, that the fiery, you know, hey, you
Yes.
can't be doing this, that, and something else?
Yes. Yes, and yeah, I kind of knew where we were going with that, but
Hey,
yeah, I have.
he knows where I'm going.
Yes, I have. Coach George, like I said earlier, he is. He's all about doing it the right way,
Yep.
and that's the way it should be. And we're all about the athletes. It's the athletes first. It's the kids first. So if you're slipping, he'll let you know. And I've had a couple instances where one was at AT&T at Camp Impact, which only happened once. I corrected it, right? So, but and then here and there a couple others, but it's all. I always tell Coach too. I take it. It's all constructive criticism, if
Of
if
course.
any. It's just really feedback. It's positive feedback. Like I told you, man, he's really he's a brother to me, but he's a mentor as well. I keep telling him I want to be on the sidelines with him one day.
Oh, no
So
kidding.
so we'll see if if that happens. But yeah, no, it has happened. It just to not take too long on that. It has happened.
Um, obviously, you know, training, you know, at the end of the day, obviously, and I like what Coach said. He said it a while back when Wong and I and Coach met up and for some coffee and so on and so forth. And like he says, I'm here to, and he told me the same thing. I don't mind helping out or doing this, that, and something else. He's more prepping you to be more of a man than to push yourself beyond what you think you can do. And obviously, football's fun and all. If there was one thing that you could pick out of Coach George and QB Impact, what would it be like? Hey, Coach George, he loves his football, but he's all about. What would be that one thing that you would look at Coach be like? I would say he's defining this moment by.
Yeah, so outside of football and sports in general, I mean, he loves his family. Like I said earlier in the show, his Ohana is how he says it because he's Hawaiian, right? So obviously he's a family man. He both of his sons, Brandon and Nick, two great dudes, and very humble guys. So he's done a great job with those guys, of course. I know they're older now, but so I'd say
Right.
family, of course, and then service. I mean, he's all about the military. He
Mhm.
served many years in the Navy, and pretty prominent positions as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that family, service, and just treating people right. Really, I mean, that's outside of course, football and QB Impact.
No,
I agree. real quick. Sorry, Mike. Casey,
No, you're
real
good.
quick. I'm gonna jump off here.
Okay.
I haven't felt very good this week, so I really
Hopefully.
appreciate you coming on, and it was really great to talk to you. Thanks a lot, and good
Thanks,
luck.
Jamie.
Good luck with everything.
Hope you feel better. We'll have to do it again sometime for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, you guys have a good night. I'll talk to you
You
Thanks, you
soon.
too,
too.
Jamie.
All right, bye bye.
No, and I respect Coach George out of that, simply because, he's obviously a big time family guy, and anytime that he can enjoy the moment with them, he's all about it. And I give props, and you don't really see that much. I know we talk about growing up. I haven't talked to my high school coach, and I couldn't tell you where he's even at. I ran
Right.
across him probably about 3-4 years ago, but something like that. But you can tell that he's really into. I think really not just coach, but you and the rest of the crew. I think really it's just the investment in the kids, and even in the high school is like, hey, if you're willing to put in the time, we're willing to get help you out in any way, form, and fashion. And I think I applaud that from the whole crew just in general. And I think, and I believe you mentioned it earlier, I think that speaks volumes on Coach George's part, really from what he's building, literally from the ground on up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. He, like I said, just learning from him. It's endless. So, I can't go wrong with being by his side. So it's awesome, man. It really is. I'm excited for the future too, of QBI and keep building it.
Well, I know one thing. The excuse me, the future is bright, and I know we're getting we're getting close to what Wong says your military your military workout session. But I
That's
will
right.
ask this. I will ask this: is there anything I should be aware of when it comes to training, regardless if it's in the weight room, running, what have you? Is there anything I need to get a heads up on?
You mean as far as
Just
overall in
overall in
general,
general.
or with Coach George?
Yep.
Okay, overall in general. So, man, honestly, just you got to take it day by day. I think that what you're doing is awesome. And health is everything,
Absolutely.
right? We're like you just said, we're in our mid 30s now,
Hmm.
man. Like it's not we're not young bucks
Nope.
anymore. So, um, but just take it day by day. You start slowly, but you'll get there. I mean, it's a grind, but it's like anything else. I mean, you'll see the progression, and it's rewarding once you see it. Here in a month or two or whatever, you'll be like, damn, this really isn't bad. And then you just keep getting better and better. I mean, it's crazy, but it's kind of like, us training QBs, right? Especially if
Hmm.
you got a new quarterback. He's young. He's a young buck. He comes raw. He doesn't know anything, right? But then you see him in a month or 2 or 3 months and you're like, dang, like he's getting it down. So that's all it is. Just stick with it. That's all. You got to just keep going, man.
If there was a when it comes to negativity, and we see it a lot, regardless, it doesn't matter anymore where in the world you see it at. You see it in almost everything now in this world and country, and even in sports, social media, what have you. I mean, literally, it's all around us. Unfortunately, how do you handle negativity when it comes your way, and how do you handle it, and then in some ways, how do you approach it to where it becomes a learning lesson for you?
Yeah, that's another great question, man. Negative mindset or negativity, I just really I don't like having any of it around me. I know it's life and
Hmm.
we all have our days. But man, I've always been one of those it could always be worse. Like, I had a rough childhood. You know what I mean? I had
Right.
I grew up in a single mom home. I have a brother that is a knucklehead. So like we lived in a very poor area of Mississippi for a long time until we moved to Oklahoma.
Hmm.
So like man, I've seen some bad days, especially as a kid. So as an adult, I just look at it like, man, it could always be worse, and I try and teach my kids that, and kids that I train, like they have a bad day, I get it. We all can have our days, but try not to be negative, man. There's someone has it worse than you, right? So, it's always going to be like that. And also, if you stick around and be negative, negative all the damn time, it's gonna ruin your day. I mean, you wake up negative, your day's ruined, right? So that's how I am. I really am. I mean, if you have, something's going on, hey, it's bothering me. I'll go on a jog, or I'll go to the gym, whatever. I'll go train. I'll go shoot some whatever it
Mhm.
is to get my mind off of it. I'll do. So, and that's really, I think what most people should do is just try and stay positive, man, because there's too much negativity anyway.
Oh yes. No, absolutely. I think that we see it. We definitely see it on social media. Man, Lord, however, when it comes, of course, again, I applaud you. I applaud you for your service and to this great country. What has serving the military one meant for you personally, and how how should I word this? And in ways that you can recall, how has it bettered your life for where you are at currently in the position that you're in?
Yeah. So first of all, again, thanks for the
Hmm.
acknowledgement, brother. Secondly, um, what it has to go back to what it's meant to me. Um, I take a lot of pride in it, and I only served 6 years, right? So it's not like I'm
Right.
not say I was in forever, but um, every day I was in, I took pride in it. Wearing the colors, is something that means a lot to me. Our flag means a lot to
Yeah.
me. Our people, our military. So I don't take it lightly. It's one of those things to where I again, like I said, I have a lot of pride in it. And then what I learned from it. So I joined a little later in life. I was 25 actually.
Very nice.
Yeah. So really, I always wanted to do it, right? But life happens, right? I had kids, two kids, which I love to death. But so some things set me back. That kind of set me back actually of joining. But I always missed. So I played sports, of course, all the way through high school, football, basketball, and I always missed the team camaraderie, right? I always missed that. Like I'm working different jobs. I'm like, man, I miss being a part of a
Hmm.
family, of a team. And so that's how the Army really came about. I was like, you know what, I'm doing it, man. I've always wanted to do it anyway, so I'm doing it. So I joined at 25, which look, I'm 35 now, so it's been, I did my six.
Right.
Actually, it's a little over six, so it's almost seven because I've been out for 3 years now. So, but I just what I've learned from it is structure. That's the main key. I needed it too because like I said, I was 25, no father, so I was really just a knucklehead. So that helped a lot. And then also it taught me that things are a lot bigger than you. You're just a small
Hmm.
piece to the puzzle. Especially in the military, man, you're really a small piece to such a great purpose and cause. And that's really what I learned, honestly, from it. Those little things. Structure, though, is the biggest key. That's something that I really needed.
No, I like that because you always hear the stories, and I unfortunately never got the opportunity to serve, and but I'm glad that I know a lot of people that have and currently still, but I think I applaud
Hmm.
the military, and I know that a lot of military branches get some knockoff, but get a bad rep, and I think that's kind of crappy, but it is what it is. But
Right.
I think it helps a lot of guys, especially quote unquote knuckleheads or the ones that they also. If I can just put you in, literally, I was saying, if you can just go to military boot camp, you'll be straightened out. And I always remember my grandma saying that. Well, I'm going to ship you off to military
Right.
boot camp. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, grandma, I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever. Uh, but
Yeah.
God bless her soul.
Yeah.
But
It's
no,
legit though.
it is no. Hmm.
Right. Yes.
But as we wrap up, I want to respect your time. I know as well. When it gets to, well, how's the best way to say it? When it gets to, let's say, for example, Coach George calls you up and he's like, "Hey, Coach Steve, I got a question for you. I got a
Hmm.
coaching job at, I don't know, Lord. He was at Jones. Let's put you guys at, he's got good ties to Carl Labert. Let's go Carl Labert. Um, Carl Labert, need some help. Would it be something that you would consider? I know you mentioned earlier and what have you. If you had at one, there we go. Besides that, if if Coach George called you up, hey, here's a job, you open to it, and of course one, then part one, B or two, however you want to look at it. What would you be your dream? It doesn't matter, high school, college, pro. If there was that one call that you received, hey, coach, we would love for you to be on staff at. What would be those two? What would be that place?
Man, that is putting me on the spot. Great question. Um, Yeah, so like I've done right now. I'm coaching my son's squad, and it's eighth
Right.
grade, right? So I have coached high school ball when we were in Buffalo, New York. I helped out coach high school up there for a few years. So I mean, but obviously high school football is awesome. I love it. I don't really necessarily have a dream high school job anywhere. I mean, Coach George knows that. We've talked obviously, and I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot or
Right.
anything
Exactly.
out there, but he knows that I'm down if the situation's right for us. He knows I would love that. But college, man, that's a great question. What I mean, heck, to be honest with you, Mike, man, I'll go for a college job in the right situation. I'll go anywhere, to be honest. I mean, I've
Right.
always said this, like in the military help, but I really could live anywhere. We went from like I said, I lived in South Mississippi and in Florida as a kid. So I
Might have lost him there. Believe so. We did. And but no, if you're just joining us, live stream, Coach Steve Manella, QB development for the QB Impact, led by Coach Tom George. Uh, we'll wait a few minutes to see if he can get back on. But first things first, guys. College football just around the corner. Literally, it's here. Thursday. There we go. Let's see.
did I lose you?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. I got cut off a little bit, but it's all good. I'm sure you caught most of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but great question though, brother.
Oh, absolutely. No, I appreciate it, and because you always people always have that one, like you always get that question. If there was that one job, doesn't matter what career field you're in or what have you, what would it be? I'm like, I don't, I don't really know.
Right.
Give me the situation I'm currently in, or give me the potential situation I might be in, so on and so forth. But
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
wrapping up, final two questions. What's your thoughts before we do some Q&A random questions? What's your thoughts on Oklahoma season and Oklahoma State season?
I think OU with Brent should be pretty dang good. Defensively, they're going to be a lot better. They'll be flying around. Offensively, I think Dylan will do a good job. Is he like, I don't know that he's a better quarterback per se than Caleb Williams,
Right.
but I think he's really good. So, I think they'll be fine. OSU, obviously, hey, look what happened with OSU last year when we
Hmm.
played them. So you can never count them out. I don't hate OSU. I know I'm a Sooner, and a lot of Sooners are like, "How could you not hate OSU?" I don't hate OSU. I actually root for them when I'm not rooting for the Sooners. So I think they'll be solid too. Mike Gundy's done a hell of a job with that
Yep.
program. He really has. So I think they'll be fine. I think they'll have a solid season too. They've got a lot of guys returning, so especially at Q. So I think they'll be solid too. But I think OU will probably end up with a better record if I'm gonna guess.
Oh, absolutely. I would say, I was on a show with Coach I of Fanatic Sports, and he came in over under. I think I was at 9, 8.5, somewhere that ball frame. And like I told him, I said, really, it's hard to tell because Oklahoma still, you're trying to figure out what, like Vint says, as Brent says, I want to try to figure out who wants to be at Oklahoma. If you're committed to
Yep,
Oklahoma, then be at Oklahoma. If you don't want to be at Oklahoma, I like how he analyzed it. It's like being married. You just ain't gonna show up to your wedding day, get married, but then follow it up 3, 4 months later. Well, no, I'm
that's
not.
right.
Exactly. I
Yes,
mean, which I thought that was a perfect. I mean, that was spot on. I was like,
yeah, it was.
that's perfect. I mean, but like I told Coach I was like, it's simple. I think if Nebraska, if they can win up in Lincoln and all conference schedule, I'm not worried about. Conference wise, I don't really know. It's really tough to see if you look at the Big 12 because Baylor returns quite a bit. You expect them to be really good, but then it's like, well, regardless, you got your conspiracy theorist out there that Lincoln Riley deliberately blew Bellum, and he may have. I don't know. I don't have proof that he tried to deliberately blow Bellum to avoid
Right.
that. I don't know. I can't vouch on that. But anyway, Texas, they always say they're back and they're never back. Uh,
Right.
I mean, I respect Coach Sarkeesian, but whatever. And after that, really, it's anybody's up for grabs. So I think Oklahoma has really, Baylor. I think could be a toss up. I think I got them losing to Kansas State. I think it was Baylor, but you know, this team has a lot of potential. Can they make the playoffs? I mean, anything's possible. I mean, I
That's
wouldn't
right.
surprise me. But at
Yep.
the end of the day, wouldn't surprise me if they won nine and if they went 9-3. I mean, it's just
I
you don't
agree.
know with this team, of course, after everything that took place just 6 months ago, whatever it has how long it's been now. So
Right.
we'll see. And plus, I don't know. I don't really follow him. I don't know if you got much or not. Coach Montgomery up in Tulsa. I don't really follow him too much up there.
Hmm.
Um, but what's your thoughts on them if you kind of keep an eye on them?
Yeah, so they always have some. Tulsa's always one of those teams that can sneak up on you. They always have some pretty good quarterbacks too. But overall, though, I think that I wouldn't say that you'd have to really worry about them so much. They really, I know they've got a couple of teams over there like Memphis that they have to fight. But I don't think that I wouldn't say Tulsa would be a favorite by any means in their conference. But they always have some dudes. They always have some solid guys.
I don't really follow much. I will be up there. Shout out to D'Artagnan Tinsley, the offensive lineman for the Cincinnati Bearcats. I will be up there
Nice.
to watch that one out of support to him. But really, just sit back and watch some good football. I really don't care if Tulsa wins, nor do I really care if Cincinnati wins. So it's for
Right.
me, good. It's a good football trip. But anyway, Coach, it's been a pleasure. I enjoyed having you on. You're always welcome back, sir. And
I appreciate
it's
you
been
guys,
fun.
man. Yeah, this was awesome. This was awesome. Anytime you get to talk with good ball, good talk with people that are good people too, man. It's been great. So I would definitely love it. I saw your tweet the other day about an NFL, kind of like an NFL show too. So
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. So yeah, anytime, man. I would love it.
Hey, you got it. And Coach George, he's always he's trying to get me out there. Hopefully here, I know work schedule's about to get at least for September kind of busy, but
Right.
he's trying to get me back. He's trying to get me up there, watch some training sessions. So I may pop in here and there,
Oh yeah,
and
got
but
to.
no, yeah, he got exactly. Hey, like I told like I told Coach, I said, this FCF, this new football league, it's 7-on-7. I honestly, at 35 years old, I don't think I can play anymore. But I wish, but I think the reality is no, we're probably past that stuff. But you never know. But like I told him, I said, hey, I may have to get back in football shape. You never know. No. What I would like to maybe a tryout just to say, hey, I did one last hurrah. But yeah, like you said, hey, we're mid-30s. Our bodies ain't what they used to be. So,
No, no, they're not, brother.
and I think I'm having a hard time waking up. I don't know if I can wake up to bumps and bruises anymore. That was rough growing up from literally beginning to freshman year, so of
Absolutely.
college. So, but no, Coach, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time out of your busy schedule, and like I said, shoot me a text whenever you want to talk ball. I'll be down, and we'll get you back on.
Okay. Sounds good, my man. I appreciate you. We'll definitely be in touch.
Yes, sir. Where can they find you real quick on social media? Of course, as always, disclaimer, if you're going to follow Coach Steve, please be respectful. That's the last thing he needs to start having trolls. So, Coach, where can they find you on all social medias?
Yeah, I'm at mainly on Twitter is my most, but you can catch me at QBI Coach Manella, or same thing on IG, Facebook, but mainly I'm on Twitter mostly. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. And, it's fun. Thank you for your service. And thank you for pouring into the young kids, not just from football, but just in general, because Sadly, nobody wants to do that, and I think it takes real men to pour into these young kids, and I applaud you for that.
Oh man, appreciate that, man. I really do. That means a lot. So definitely, I love doing it, and we'll definitely continue. So all good. I appreciate you guys again.
Hey, absolutely. You've been listening to the Air Raid Attack podcast. Listen to us on all major podcast platforms. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back next week. Coach Lyota of the Fan Control Football League comes on talking everything and anything FCFN. Who knows? College football is just getting going. We may talk some ball. Until then, everyone, wonderful weekend. Enjoy week 1 of college football. We got some football, guys.